What up? What up? What up? We are live. This is live. I am live. What is happening now is in real time. You are viewing it as it is occurring. When my mouth moves, the words come out, they go into this microphone, and that is what you hear. Right? Anyhow, I'm feeling very zen today. A little frustrated yesterday, but feeling very zen today. I have calm, rational perspective on everything that I will be presenting on this here morning. And thank you all for showing up and being here as always. Chris Ward, good morning. Happy we don't know this what the status is of CC Day. Member chats, super chats go first, as you all know. What up, Kevin? Now, let's I'll start with that because that was the big topic yesterday afternoon, evening, until the great performance from Paige Bueckers, the game winner from Kelsey Plum last night. And of course, nobody can do anything good in the WNBA without being compared to Caitlin Clark. But the Paige Bueckers comparisons in some ways are natural. So I'll get to that in a bit as well. But let me start with the injury mystery now that the dust has settled a little bit. After all of the back and forth yesterday, the Fever did put out a statement, and this is what the statement itself said. There was no timeline or projected return to play, so it's impossible to say if it was impacted, her return. So it remains the same, to give Caitlin as much time needed to ensure she comes back fully healthy, which every day she is working hard to do. Now, when that statement first came out, I to be honest, I had to make sure it didn't come from a parody account. Because that first sentence, there was no timeline or projected return to play, so it's impossible to say if it was impacted, is some, galaxy brain stuff, right? There's no timeline, so no timeline can be impacted. It's like the multiverse in Marvel movies where you can get away with anything because there's just another version of the character from this universe. He might be dead in this universe, but he's not dead over here in this universe. So no, can't have any continuity problems there. And so the no timeline aspect of that cracked me up. Especially with the conflicting reports that came, and that was kind of what that was addressing. Chloe Peterson of the Indy Star had said that the ankle issue that happened with Caitlin didn't impact her timeline, while Scott Agnes of Fieldhouse Files said that it did. Now, I don't think people quite understand sometimes the nature of the beast or the business, but my understanding and my read of that situation between the two of them, if I had to guess, is that Chloe was relaying the information she got from the team, while Scott was relaying the information he got from sources close to the team, whoever they may be, and therefore the difference in the presentation. Now, I actually like knowing. I don't like knowing that Caitlin Clark suffered another injury, of course, but I do appreciate knowing that she had the ankle bone bruise because it makes things make a little more sense. That was what was frustrating to me, is that it didn't make sense there wasn't a specific timeline, of course, but all the hinting and tea leaves and indications and the sense I had gotten was that Clark's return was imminent and that this week would be the ramp up week and the return would come soon thereafter. Now, they do have a practice in a little bit, so we'll see what comes of that. But here is my understanding of the situation. Okay, last thing I'll say on this before I move on to the next topic. This is my understanding of the situation after having processed it and, done what one would do after news like this comes out. I do believe Caitlin Clark was close to a return from the groin injury. And I do believe that is mostly healed or about to be put behind her. But all of this is contingent on her getting back into practice, getting a regular ramp up and load to be ready to play. And when you have an ankle issue like that, it doesn't stand up to scrutiny that it wouldn't impact that, because it does impact your mechanics, the way you move, the way you run, the fact that that injury itself needs its own rehab and rest. And so my understanding of the situation is that Clark was close to a return, and that set her back a bit. Now, the other part of that that's important, and that's probably the most telling thing from the Fever statement, is that she's still working hard every day to return. So there is no grand plot to conceal her status in the sense of trying to, string people along. I don't believe that. I do think they were trying to quell the noise and the speculation and take the pressure off Caitlin Clark a little bit. And to be quite frank, at some point soon, we need to hear from Caitlin Clark. We can't just talk about everybody but her. I do think at some point it's prudent for Caitlin Clark to speak about where she is and her progress. But one thing that is noteworthy is there was no ruling out. There still is no ruling out. And it is also my understanding Caitlin Clark is working toward a return. When there will be time for that to happen, the clock is ticking on the regular season. And practice time is finite. So all these things are realistic and true obstacles, but it makes a little bit more sense knowing about the ankle, because it's only common sense. Even it's a minor setback, that it would have an impact on an injury recovery when you suffer another injury. And the timeline deal, they don't have to update that officially because they never did set an actual timeline. But it is not the intent to shut her down. It is the intent for her to be able to get back on the court if she is indeed able. That's about the way I see it right now. So there you have that. Then there was the Paige Bueckers masterclass last night. Really just truly an impressive performance. The way she was moving out there, that's about the best and most confident I've ever seen her move. I don't know if it's the Wings roster moves. I don't know if it's the coaching. By the way, Chris Koklinas deserves a little credit. They lost the game again, but he is the guy at the helm here with Paige Bueckers playing like that, and I feel like he's just been crapped on all season. So, in not the easiest circumstances, but this move right here, whoo! And then the hezzy, that's just beautiful. And you can't be a hoops fan and not appreciate what Paige Bueckers did last night. It was, a masterclass. Paige Bueckers put on a masterclass of a performance. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And she continues to prove that she is a super talent and a force to be reckoned with for years to come. And she secured the Rookie of the Year, no question. And she put herself back into comparisons that are actually good for the sport and for the WNBA. Caitlin Clark, Paige Bueckers comparisons, they can create healthy debate. And it's a natural, quote unquote, rivalry in a sense, given that they would actually be facing off more often than players who don't play even close to the same position and are relatively equal as far as where they're at in their careers. Now, it's funny in this situation because there are so many people who say nobody can do anything without talking about Caitlin Clark, right? And it works on both sides of that equation, where on one hand, They people will say, Caitlin Clark gets interjected into every conversation and it's not necessary, blah, blah, blah. Uh, and, that is supposed to be a shot at Clark fans who make everything about Caitlin Clark and don't care about anything else. And then there's the other side of that discourse where whenever anybody, especially somebody who can be compared to Caitlin Clark like Paige Bueckers, does anything good, it's not even about what they did. It's about like, oh, better than a certain someone, like shading for the sake of engagement. It's a two-way street, no question about it. And I think again, I mean, some of it is healthy debate. This has happened on the WNBA, on the NBA side for years and years and years. I keep doing that Freudian slip where I just say WNBA because I'm so used to talking about it now. I grew up a huge NBA fan, and for the bulk of my professional career was known for NBA stuff. And these things have existed for the longest time. And in a direct Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers comparison, again, both brilliant players. And I'm never going to try to take a shot at Paige to prop up Caitlin. Paige is showing and proven. She's the truth. No questions asked. And what Paige Bueckers is a better pure scorer than Caitlin Clark. Pure scorer. Does that mean she's a more effective scorer? Not necessarily. But she's smoother off the ball, coming off screens, scoring in the mid-range, those sort of things. Caitlin Clark dictates the game more, activates everyone more with her playmaking and passing. Sometimes people boil it down too much to the logo threes. Clark has to be picked up full court almost, or half court at least. And she's able to dice the team up in between. And ultimately, that's where I give the edge to Caitlin Clark, is her ability to impact the entire game and play make in that way. But that doesn't take anything away from Paige. And, with Paige, look, she's got the handles. She's got the shot, all those things. And I said to some people I would elaborate on these comparisons a little bit. I saw this one thrown out, and it's sort of interesting because Michael here says Paige is Kevin Durant, Caitlin is LeBron James. This is not a perfect comp at all, but that's how I think about them impact-wise. And I get that. I had brought up Carmelo Anthony the other day, where a lot of people, when they were arguing against LeBron, would argue for Carmelo Anthony because he had a deeper bag and he was a more pure scorer. But LeBron James, in my opinion, is still a more effective scorer, even though he didn't do it in a variety of ways. The Hulk doesn't have a lot of versatility, but if smashing works, smashing works. And the reason I've said that LeBron James, in a lot of ways, is the best comparison for Caitlin Clark is because of the way she dictates and impacts the entire game. And Paige is more in a Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving kind of mold. Players who are brilliant with the ball in their hands, but also are brilliant without the ball in their hands, can score off the ball, are pure scorers. Caitlin is more, I wouldn't call Caitlin a pure scorer. Caitlin is a, player who dominates the game with the ball in her hands. She needs to get better at moving without the ball. And all these are things she can improve upon. But Caitlin is far more LeBron James, Steve Nash, James Harden, Luka Doncic. Players who have the ball and dictate what happens. The way that Caitlin moves, a lot of it is Nash-like to me, but I'm still going with LeBron comparison the most because LeBron shoots deep threes too. LeBron play makes like Caitlin. LeBron rebounds, assists, fills up the entire box score. I mean, he's athletically on a whole nother level than a lot of people, but he also receives hate and comparisons and gets talked about when he has no business being in the conversation. So that's where that comparison comes from. And Caitlin, especially last year in a rookie year, this year's a little rough because she's been injured, but she got to the rack. She shot from deep. She playmake for everybody. She rebounds. She blocks shots. She's not the defensive force LeBron was, but in the sense of like controlling a game and dictating every aspect of it, that's where I see that comparison, not to mention dictating and dominating the discourse. Meanwhile, Paige, is tremendous. So when you talk about the other players who are, being brought up here, whether it's Kyrie or Carmelo Anthony or Kevin Durant, like all-time greats, Hall of Famers, everything like that. But, again, I think Paige is more a pure scorer. She can also impact the game in other ways. It's not like she can't. I thought she's getting criticized for it. I thought that pass she made into the corner was great. Who missed that shot? Isaiah James? But it was kicked out into the corner. Good look. Set up by Paige's gravity. The shot was just missed. And then on the other end, Kelsey Plum hit the game winner. By the way, who's a hooper too? Kelsey Plum is a damn hooper. And she is feisty. She plays hard. She can create for herself. Kelsey Plum is a dog. So credit to her as well. But like I said, ultimately it's good. It's good for the league in the sense that these are natural organic debates. These are, things that healthy sports leagues, big time sports leagues have. And there's a little bit of a natural, like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese is based on that moment and people like throwing race into the conversation. And Caitlin and Angel will always be linked. No question. But from a basketball standpoint, Paige Bueckers makes a lot more sense. Also at college at the same time, played against each other in college. And when they go head to head, they'll be, not that they're going to guard each other all game or anything, but they're more likely to go head to head in an actual basketball context. And we'll see. But all these, players being around are good for the health and the future of the league. It's a whole new guard. When you close your eyes and you look at that Olympic team in 2028, that'll probably be the stuff of legend. Probably the closest to the female equivalent of the dream team that we'll ever see. And that's no disrespect to all the gold medal winning that the team has done before. All right. Like, I know you got to do that song and dance with the WNBA. But because of the explosive growth, as we've been on the air, I got an email from the WNBA touting the all-time attendance record. And, in this period of explosive growth, you're going to see a bunch of faces that resonate with people and that people are attached to and that people are, gravitating toward. So when that 2028 team comes out and it's got Caitlin Clark on it and Paige Bueckers on it and Angel Reese on it and um, you know, maybe Juju Watkins on it and whoever else, it's going to capture a lot of people's imaginations. So that's going to be cool to see. And like just because there's comparisons, you can have fun with the comparisons and you can have your preference and you can argue all that stuff is good old fashioned debate. But there's no reason to take away from one versus the other in that sense either. Get to some of your comments now. Again, member chats, super chats go first. Please like and subscribe. Like I told you, I'd be very zen today. I feel like I'm being very zen. Am I holding up my end of the bargain? The zen approach. Let me look for the member chats. Get those super chats in as well. Carol Ryan says, think she realized she was going to lose Rookie of the Year, so she stepped it up. It was a great game. Look, I mean, if that had something to do with it, that's something that the greats also do is put a chip on their shoulder, right? Put a chip on their shoulder, go out, ball out. Congratulations, if that's the case, too. I mean, the Rookie of the Year race is done now. Sonia Citron had a nice run. She's a good player, but Paige Bueckers is the Rookie of the Year. Finished. Finito. Signed, sealed, delivered. Joe Lala. Anything official on when CC returns to training? Agnes said maybe next week. No, nothing official. You saw their timeline. Again, it is my understanding she is still working toward a return. The way I see things, she was nearing a return from the groin injury. And then the ankle thing happened. That messed it up a bit. And now she's reworking her way toward a return. But she is not planned to be shut down for the season. Given all this, if I had to guess now, I'd say, I mean, this is complete guess. This is based on nothing other than how I would say September 5th. But hopefully before then. Not when she starts working out, when she would play. Which would give her 3 more games before the playoffs. And 2 more weeks from now. Who knows? Maybe Friday the 29th is also possible. If she's able to get back into practice next week. I mean, it's got to be soon if she's going to come back. There ain't much, you're running out of runway. I mean, Paige already is a great player in the W. And yes, she does play a different type of game than CC. Paige had a great game. It's a shame that the GM and coach make Christy Sides look like John Wooden. Well, I'm not going to criticize the Wings coach much yet. I feel like that's just an easy in thing to do. He hasn't had enough of a chance. Kurt Miller, the GM, I mean, some of the moves that they were heralded for in the offseason, I didn't love, but this team is going to go where its young players take them. We'll see what happens with Enrique Agumbawale and her future there and her injury. But, Paige is a hell of a building block. And I don't necessarily subscribe to the idea that the coach is as bad as everybody says he is. He looks a little different. He doesn't have like that fiery kind of demeanor, but he's got a lot of experience. I haven't seen anything from Paige or anybody to indicate there's a problem there. The team has improved. She's improving, playing her best basketball now. I mean, he was dealt a rough spot because he had a lot of egos and vets there. And now that it's pretty clear, it's Paige's team, which makes it a little easier. But I'm not ready to it's so easy to just shit on the coach at the first, available opportunity. And then people like jump on these bandwagons in a sense. I don't have my I don't have my mind made up on him. Let me put it that way. Peggy said, if I made a sports bet that the Fever wouldn't make the playoffs, how much money would I get? Just asking for a friend. Well, look, the Fever are still in a good position to make the playoffs. I mean, if the Wings had won last night, that would have really helped them even more. But if you look at the standings, I mean, I know they're bunched up and the standings are tight, right? It's a bunched up, tight standings. Here you see them. Fever sit at sixth. Valkyries are a game behind the Fever. The Valkyries' schedule is just as tough as the Fever's, really. I don't see the Valkyries, winning at a much higher clip than Indiana the rest of the year. The Storm are a game and a half out, and they've struggled. The Fever also have a head-to-head game with the Storm. So if they can win that game, that would do a ton. And as far as being out of the playoffs, that's the Sparks, who are full 2 games behind Indy, who also play the Sparks. I mean, I only think the Fever need to win like 3 or 4 more games the rest of the season to make the playoffs. Most likely, given the position that they're in. So they've got this game against Minnesota next, and they have 3 games against Minnesota. That's obviously daunting. But if there was ever a time to upset Minnesota, it would be Friday. Minnesota played Tuesday in New York. They play tonight in Atlanta. And then they got to go to Indy. 3 games in 4 days, all on the road. This is not me saying the Fever are on the Lynx' level. They clearly are not. But if the Lynx are going to get got, it's on Friday. Now, Sunday, loss. In Minnesota, Fever losing that game. Tuesday against Seattle. At home? I wouldn't be surprised if Indiana's favored in that game. Then you got at Los Angeles, at Golden State. Can they split those 2 games? Not out of the realm of possibilities. At Phoenix, that's going to be tough. I mean, again, this depends on Caitlin Clark's status. Chicago, we've seen that be a win at home. At Washington, not out of the realm of possibilities. And then the last, I mean, it's not like the Mystics are some dominant team. The last game against the Lynx, they're going to be sitting everybody in that game. There's no reason for them to play that game. So can the Fever cobble together 3 or 4 wins? 4 wins? Perhaps. And if they do, they will make the playoffs. They don't need to climb to make the playoffs. They just need to not fall. Tate Boogie says, Paige Kyrie. I mean, there is some to that for sure. He also compared Caitlin Clark to Trae Young. I see what he's saying. I think Caitlin Clark is. I think Trae Young's a great player. Caitlin Clark is a lot bigger relative for her position. I think she impacts the game more than Trae in other ways. But Trae Young is a guy who scores and assists at an incredibly high level and is a hell of a player. Peggy says CC is not returning this season. Well, we don't know that. I mean, we don't know that. If it helps to frame it that way, that's fine to make it less disappointing if that is the case. But from what I gleaned yesterday, I told you what I think. That's what I think. Ben says CC's rookie year is greater than Paige's rookie year. People forget. I mean, I agree with that too. I mean, Caitlin set the all-time assist record last year. She set the all-time points produced record last year. But Paige is cold. So, yeah, so what? You know? I mean, the comparisons are fun in a sense. I see people talking about the money that they spent on tickets and stuff. Chris Ward says, "Am I crazy to think that if Sonya manages to get the Mystics into the playoffs, that she isn't more deserving of Rookie of the Year?" Well, I mean, look, individual success certainly has an effect on team success, but it's also not completely a one-to-one dynamic. And I watched the two play. Paige Bueckers is better than Sonya Citron. She just is. And when eventually Sonya Citron will be on the top of scouting reports, to me, she's like going to be an all-star role player. Like, she plays so good within the flow of the game and scores so naturally and effectively. But I don't think you can give her the ball and let her rock the way Paige can. And I think when you look at the performance, like what Paige did last night and the individual marks she set, I think it outweighs the team performance. And Sonya Citron is also on a team where she's got another rookie who in a normal year would be certainly campaigning for Rookie of the Year as well. They got a bright future there. But no, I don't think. I think the Rookie of the Year race is done. Let me see what else we got here. Member chats. Super chats go first. Twofold says, "You can add me to the list of injuries. Fell off my bike, broken elbow. I'm out for the rest of the season. Jesus, what's in the air? The fever is cursed." I'm assuming you're serious. I hope you're good. My daughter had a broken wrist earlier this summer. So broken bone in the household here we've had to deal with. Shea Petty signing doesn't leave me optimistic on CC's return. Well, again, I mean, she's signed to a hardship deal, which why wouldn't you? I mean, they flipped her out for Lambert. There was no difference there. Then Lambert's signing should have made you optimistic for a CC return. The bottom line is that can maintain until CC's back. Then she or Sims has to go. But it doesn't mean you can't use that deal in the meantime. Doesn't mean you can't, take advantage of it, I guess is the way I'm saying. I mean, I would expect the Fever to make another roster move after tomorrow's game. Somebody's coming in to take the spot vacated by Sophie Cunningham. But I don't think that those moves are directly correlated. Especially, I mean, they said they weren't directly correlated, but when you're under 10 available players, you can bring in hardship players to make that up until you're back at 10 available players. Sue Bird is picking the Olympic team, Peggy, or at least heavily involved in that process. Caitlin Clark is not getting, unless something, the entire landscape changes between now and then, Caitlin Clark will be on that team. Again, this is a common thing. I cannot help the feeling that the Fever W are holding out hope of a CC return to bolster attendance and reassure investors in this expansion. I mean, I understand where that comes from. I don't think that's the case. I felt pretty good, like I said, about Caitlin Clark's return being imminent. Like in this stretch of games right now, if not even before. Felt pretty good about that. And something changed. And that's where the mystery came in. I mean, look, the Fever, Stephanie White felt good enough about it at one point to share it with the ESPN telecast. That was not an ESPN report. That was ESPN relaying the information. Ryan Rucco and Rebecca Lobo on the call, relaying the information that Stephanie White shared with them in the meeting. So, again, the sense that I get is that Caitlin Clark was close to a return. This ankle thing bugged her a little bit more, or hindered it a little bit, and that changed the timeline some. And sorry, there is no timeline. There is no timeline, so it can't be changed. Apologies. That altered the steps in the process a little bit, and now she is again working her way back. And the plan is still, or the hope, I guess is the word I would say, as Stephanie White used, the hope is still for her to get back on the floor. That doesn't make it a guarantee, but I don't think it's being done for a nefarious, like, hoodwink kind of reason. But with Clark's popularity and with her level of fame and with the money that people do spend to go to games, and look, people are supporting the Fever either way, there is, it's not unfair for people to want to know what's going on and how the season could be affected or not, or if the plan is for her to come back, and then again, I think, at some point, put Caitlin Clark in front of some microphones. Let her speak for herself. We haven't seen Caitlin Clark speak since the All-Star game. It's been 5 weeks, essentially, since Caitlin Clark was in front of cameras and microphones to articulate things. And I know they've tried to remove the pressure on her and they want her back 100%. And all that is correct tact and protect her long-term health. I don't think anybody's against that. But, the best way to offer clarity would be for Caitlin Clark to speak on the situation, in my opinion. Member chats, super chats go first. Please like and subscribe. I said this before. Did Scott or Chloe change their stories, or are the Fever giving out two different stories to the reporters to confuse fans? No. Look, again, I'm not there. I'm not speaking for either of those individuals. But I know how the game works, right? And the way I see it is that after that initial report came out, it was Agnes that put it out, right? To me, he is reporting from sources close to the situation. I have no idea who that may be, but saying that he heard or he knows that Caitlin Clark suffered this ankle injury and it sent her back. Now, there's no dispute that Caitlin Clark suffered the ankle injury. What was then put out was that it didn't impact the timeline, which I believe Chloe put out. To me, that read like she was inquiring about it, and that was the information she got. And then there was the statement that the Fever put out themselves, which was so ambiguous. It was to the point of parody where they say it's impossible to know if it impacted the timeline because there is no timeline. Again, it's like the multiverse. Any situation can be solved. It stands to reason, given everything we'd heard, given the tone, given the shift in tone, that this did set Caitlin Clark back a little bit. I mean, it's only natural. It's an injury. It's common sense. Doesn't mean it's significant. Doesn't mean it's, altering the trajectory of the future and, all that stuff. But anytime you're slowly and steadily working your way back from one injury and you suffer another injury, it's going to, and you have to simultaneously rehab the two injuries, it's going to have some sort of impact. It isn't, it doesn't stand up to scrutiny otherwise. think I got to most of the member chats. Member chats, super chats. Go first. Got a lot of members now. That number's steadily increased, so appreciation to that. See if I, there's a couple folks that yell at me when I scroll through the comments. Guys, so I got to make sure I'm talking while I'm doing it. But I'm trying to be as zen and rational about the situation as possible. T-Smile says, anyone who has followed Clark knows she wants to be on the floor. She has said before, missing games like this has been the hardest part of her career. Again, and I don't think you see a game like Sunday and then just like pack it in on the season. Brett Atwood, honestly, Robin, I'm fatigued being a fan of this team. Look, it's been tough. It's been a rough season. It's blow after blow after blow. Blow after blow after blow. Yeah, I mean, I agree. That's what I said. I think the best way to handle this at this point is let Caitlin Clark speak for herself. Even if it's the same messaging. If it's coming from her, there's a degree of transparency there. Gualberto says Paige and Caitlin are fantastic players. I don't know who would disagree with that. Who made a Kobe comparison? For Cece or for Paige? I mean, I don't think Cece plays anything like Kobe. I don't even think the only way you could make the comparison is in like attitude or mentality or something. Okay. But in game, nothing like. I mean, Paige is closer to Kobe in game than Cece is. I mean, in direct comparisons of game, what do I see from Cece? I've always said I see a little Jason Kidd. Those get-ahead passes remind me of Jason Kidd more than anybody else. I see a lot of Steve Nash, all of the like keeping the dribble alive in the lane, finding people like this. All that is Steve Nash. The deep shooting, of course, reminds people of Steph Curry because Steph Curry popularized that. But when you throw all that in a cocktail mix and shake it up, it's LeBron James more than anybody else to me, like dictating the game, having an impact, rebounding, getting, going, finding, scoring yourself, pulling up yourself, like controlling everything on the floor and being the topic of discussion every single day. That's why I think LeBron James is the best comparison. All things considered. Even if it's not perfect, of course. But I mean, that game, the game Caitlin got hurt in against the Suns, she dominated that game down the stretch. Hurt, obviously, struggling, dominated, controlled it. Clark can control a game without scoring. Great show, Robin. Love the Zen. Appreciate it. Not parody, but I think you mean the parallels between MJ's and CeCe's first years are pretty interesting with the Rookie of the Year and following injuries. The shining part is that MJ came back with a vengeance after and managed to manage injuries better. Yeah, well, I think MJ came back for the playoffs that year. I think that might have been the 63-point Boston Garden game in his second year after missing most with the foot injury. She was not awful down the stretch of that Sun game, Tay Boogie. She dominated that game. She took it over. I mean, go back and look. All the points and assists were all her. She took that over down the stretch. I mean, and that was while in the midst of a shooting slump that I think, look, let's be real about it. Caitlin Clark's shooting slump clearly is related to the injuries. It's not an excuse. It's not anything. It's what's obvious in front of anybody's eyes, who's being fair. Just like, Asia Wilson to me has come on to the point where I'd probably vote her for WNBA MVP. Paige Bueckers was brilliant last night, sealed the rookie of the year. You got to keep it 100 and real around things. It doesn't matter who your favorite player is or who you like more than the other. I ain't pushing no agendas. Awesome. That sounds awesome. What's he saying? Does he actually watch what I have to say? Tulip plays. Oh my God, we're comparing CC to MJ and Braun. You guys put the pressure on her. Let her just be CC. Well, I mean, I think she is. I mean, when it comes to impact, she is the Michael Jordan of women's basketball. I mean, that can't be argued. Can't be argued. Or even Michael Magic and Bird all rolled in one. There's your Jay-Z check. It just can't be argued when it comes to impact. And then when it comes to actual ability and play, I mean, she arguably had the greatest rookie season of all time. Certainly had certainly it proved to be the greatest offensive engine the history of the sport has ever seen from the guard position or from any position. No, I don't think there are any conspiracies that are influencing what's happening here. No. I don't think there's any shadow moves being made or strings being pulled or any of that stuff. I think it's just you deal with a star at her magnitude and you don't get a concrete update for as long as you do. And it seems the tone changes around even when the hopes of the return are, or they become a little bit more, resigned. It leads to curiosity. No fever fatigue here. I'd rather WNBA fatigue and how it's run. I have no faith or trust here. Look, I mean, there's things in the WNBA that needs to change. But it's only going to get better the more money that comes in, the more eyeballs that are on it. I don't care who would get killed for what. I mean, that's LeBron. LeBron would get killed, yes. LeBron has dominated many games without shooting well, but people will point at the pass he made instead of the shot he took, or a turnover, or the shot. Good shooting does not equate to playing good. There's a big distinction. And I'm sorry, Caitlin Clark dominated down the stretch of that Connecticut Sun game, while obviously hampered and hindered. I only answer for what I tell you and what I say and what I think. And you can argue with what I think, but I don't give a shit what everybody's saying or who would get killed for what or how this example compares to this example. You can compare it to things I previously said versus things I'm saying now, or argue with something I'm saying now. But my opinion and my interpretation of the things is not swayed by what others said or how past precedent was set by what others said. I don't care. And I'm not picking on you. Obviously, I love your participation in the show. I mean, Starscream, Steph Curry had a stretch shooting basically 11% from three in his career. It was very similar. He had a stretch like that. And again, Caitlin Clark was like, it's not even, I'm not even, who cares? It's like, but the girl had quad tightness in the preseason. And look, this is concerning to me, by the way. The level of the injuries that the number of injuries that Caitlin has gotten, and that's why not rushing her back makes sense. But she had a quad issue tightness in the preseason, which obviously never got a chance to heal because she only sat out one game and then played in that Iowa game. against Brazil. Then she had a quad pull or strain or whatever they called it, which caused her to miss 3 weeks at the beginning of the season. She works her way back from that, strains her groin, causes her to miss 2 weeks. Obviously came back from that as quickly as possible, both of those injuries, as quickly as possible, which means she was clearly playing through them, which led to another injury, this groin. And when you're hurt, you don't shoot as you don't get the same lift on your jumpers. You don't, that goes for everybody. Across anybody who's ever played sports. So, do I think that contributed mightily to her shooting slump? I think it's obvious. And it's just because she's Caitlin Clark. You know, other people go through shooting slumps, and it's not going to be blasted to that degree or like, ha, to that degree. And I get it. That's the flip side of being like, she's the GOAT. Like, I get it. But I think it's pretty clear. And a lot of times things aren't excuses, they're reasons. Gotcha, Starscream. Yeah, it's what I mean. Caitlin's shot wasn't falling, and she controlled that game against the Sun. Like, subscribe, please. Member chats, super chats go first. Gotten to as many as I can. Somebody asked me if Jordan was the GOAT. I mean, I think LeBron is the GOAT, to be honest with you. But oh, yeah, there you go. I mean, I'd say LeBron. In 2017, I did a viral video, 10 million views or something on LeBron. 3 best basketball players I've ever seen are LeBron James, Michael Jordan, and Steph Curry in the NBA. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Angel also suffers from negative engagement around Angel Reese is a bit of a cottage industry also. So like some of those accounts will look for anything to mock her about. As far as, but at that time also, I don't think she was saying, I don't think it's fair to say she's starting the season coming off of, to the same degree. I don't think, look, Angel improved her shooting percentage dramatically. And if her back injury recently had affected it, I would get it. I mean, she's also shooting 5 feet from the basket. So it's a lot to act like the shooting slumps are the same is also not true. It's not a apples to apples comparison because Caitlin Clark is taking far more difficult shots. That the issue with Angel's field goal percentage for me specifically when I would talk about it is because of her shot diet. And with the shot diet she had, her field goal percentage was alarming. Now she's addressed it, rectified it, and had a great season. Angel's beast. But that was my critique of her shot percentage was her shot diet and selection versus Caitlin Clark is creating for herself and others on all these shots, including ones from deep. And when she's shooting from the distance that she's shooting at and her mechanics are off and she's hurt, I think it's pretty obvious that it's related. Chris Ward, setting president topic aside, if the front office does not hold on itself cutting him, I'm going to be pissed. Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, it's going to be a lot of movement this offseason. Going to be a lot of movement. We'll see how it all plays out. All right, y'all. That'll about do it for me. Hit me with the likes, subscribes, all that. Any other member chats or super chats, get them in now. Got a couple people asking me who the Fever would keep in the expansion draft if the rules are the same. You got to refresh me on the rules. People wanted to do this next Friday, right? Let's finalize that by the beginning of next week. We could also do it tomorrow if you want. But the expansion rules, I'm trying to remember what they were. I think, can you only protect one free agent? I mean, obviously Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, right? And they're the only two that are locked up beyond this year. So the rules can't be the same because of the free agency. Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston. I'd have to, again, refresh on the rules. Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hull, Sophie Cunningham. That sixth one is the tough one. I mean, Natasha Howard's been the next best player, but she's on a 1-year deal also. I mean, I don't know if I wouldn't protect Ari McDonald. As crazy as that sounds. It also would depend on how they evaluate Timpson. If it just comes down to who's been the most productive this year, it would be Natasha Howard. But thinking toward the future, those would be the others I'd consider. Yeah, this is what it can't be one free agent. So, and I'm sure it's going to get pushed back probably because of the CBA. So I don't know the rules or how many are going to be protected. So it's tough for me to tell you definitively. Let me know where you guys, if you guys want to set the specific. I think people had thrown out next Friday last week. I could also offer tomorrow if you want. Just let me know. But it may be too late for tomorrow. So we can finalize it at the beginning of next week. All right, next Friday. So let's pencil that in. We'll either do it at the normal time or right after the show. But it may take the place of the show. We'll do the Fever play on Sunday, right? Yeah. So I'll give you the final date. We'll lock it in on Monday. But let's aim for next Friday, okay? Around the regular show time. Tulip had told me I had a W stream. I mean, I don't think she meant WNBA. All right, y'all. Appreciate it. Always good hanging out. Try to be zen. Try to give you my thoughts, just how I'm feeling at the time. You know what I mean? There's another Jay-Z reference for you, Tulip. Until the next one. Yeet.